Hi,
Hey,
everyone. Hi.
Hi.
Good
How are you?
morning, good
Good morning.
afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is talking back to suicide. I'm Diane Kaufman. I'm a retired child psychiatrist, poet, artist, founder director of the Hold On campaign for suicide prevention. And I'd like to introduce my co-host, Kino. So, want to say a few words about yourself, Kino?
I'm just the guy. The guy who sits here and makes sure everything goes well. Okay, no, but why I'm here? So, Dan and I met on my own podcast about 2 months ago. So she was one of my first guests, when I started doing interviews. And I mean, a 1 hour conversation, which was planned, turned out to be like 2.5 hours. Just touching on the topic of suicide. I mean, it's an endless conversation. You can't really, there's no start and finish to it. And there's so many components to it. So besides that, like I'm a music producer, I'm a music entrepreneur, I'm a DJ, and I focus a lot with independent artist space and focusing on artist mental health. So hence I'm here. So I mean, our main mandate for this podcast is to just close the gaps because we see there's still a loophole globally. We're not resolving the issue of suicide or suicide prevention. The numbers keep rising each and every single year. So we want to, bring people such as yourself on to share your story and all work together, with one global mandate to actually bring those numbers down and, just bring more awareness to suicide.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Absolutely.
that's yeah.
Yeah, and you're in South Africa, right?
Yeah,
I'm in
yeah.
Portland, Oregon, and we want to introduce our guest, right? And I want to make sure I'm saying your name right. Amalfi?
Yes, Amalfi.
Yeah, so welcome, Amalfi. Uh, Amalfi and I met each other, I think it was a week ago, right?
Yes.
Yes, at a gathering of nonprofit organizations that was put together through CSN, which is, I think, Community Services Network, a chance
Mhm.
for nonprofits within Oregon to get to know each other. And of course, some of the nonprofits may be based in Oregon, but they have much larger populations that they're serving. And Amalfi, I think our tables were opposite each other in the actually it was like a hotel room, a large room. I think
Right.
there might have been like 100 people there, different organizations. And
Yes.
so you and I kind of hit it off. So I want to give the floor to you to start the conversation because I know you were so eager to talk about suicide and domestic violence and to make a difference through our personal experiences, right? Not only we've learned through our experiences, but we have a lot to share with other people. And when I say we, I don't just mean the three of us. I mean everyone with lived experiences around mental health has something to share. So Amalfi, take it away.
Take it away. Okay. Well, I'm very thankful. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you guys. This is new to me. It's my first time ever doing this. But I have a story. I have a story that I want to share to the world that how my life has changed a lot. It started off, like I said, first we just how we met. I mean, things happen for a reason. There's always a purpose for it. I was not expecting to go there, or I was told that I was gonna give information. And me, I love to talk. I love people, and I wasn't like that all the time. In a part of my life, I had really, really a bad depression. Like I isolated myself on top of like I had an addiction too. Um and everything came all together and to the point, like I say, at the last thing that I thought was my resource was like, why am I doing in this world? I don't want to be here anymore. I'm just like, I don't, what's the point of living if I'm not doing nothing with my life? And I look at now back and I look at the purpose because I went to the organization and I got to talk about my life. I got to connect with other people, domestic violence, with you, with so many organizations, that I'm just like, wow, there's a lot of hope out there. And at one point I didn't have it. I didn't believe there was hope for me. I was like, well, I'm just another human being in this world. Nobody's gonna miss me. But at the end, it was like, okay, I have a beautiful family. I have 5 children that I love so much. My mother, I have a father, I have a family that cares about me. But I didn't think about that, and that point of my life when I hit rock bottom, and I was like, you know what? It's better off if I, maybe if I just end this, I'm gonna end their suffering, because they had to deal with me always trying to commit suicide, like things that, obviously, like, family shouldn't experience, because they were desperately wanting me to get the help, and then I had the addiction on top of that. So my family was more like, okay, one day we're gonna lose her. But my higher power, I thank God a lot that I am here and I'm alive. I am a walking miracle. On top of that, I am in recovery. I can say I am getting so much help. I have a lot of support system. I believe in, before I was like, well, therapist or medication or stuff. I didn't believe in all that. Like, no, I was like, no, I'm not crazy. Um, but it has helped me get where I am. It has helped me, where, like, okay, well, I talk about my life. One of the things I learned is that when I talk about stuff, it takes the power of whatever negative thing it has. And before, it wasn't like that. I didn't like to expose myself. This is like exposing myself. I was like, am I gonna do this? Like, um but it's something that I think that out there, there's not a lot of people that talk about it, because there's that stigma, like, oh, what are people gonna think? Oh, they're crazy, or they're just weak, or they can't do it. They just start thinking about the worst things. And as a, like I say, a survivor of domestic violence, because I don't consider myself a victim, I consider myself a survivor, because I survived it. I'm here for a reason. And no matter what, after that domestic violence, if I touch a little bit, it was someone very close to me that I thought that cared about me. He was my best friend. And a little bit of that story and what ended up happening, he ended up insulting me, choking me. Literally, I died. Woke up by the officers, like, gave me CPR. Went to a trial for a year and 3 months. It was torture. And in that moment, all I wanted to do was just die. All I wanted to do, I will get pills. I will hit a depression. I didn't want to, like, I thought everybody was here to hurt me. So I ended up, like, leaving my world. Everything had just, I thought the world was over for me, because how could I, like, how could I go to my family, some of my family that were like, oh, you deserved it because you were with that person. But I was like, I was already going through what, some people don't understand, what is being a survivor of domestic violence, and on top of that, dealing with the guilt, the shame. It's like, what are people thinking about me? What are people, like, it's horrible. So might as well just end this. And so my addiction grew. And my addiction was a silent one. Everybody knew that I drank, but nobody did knew I did drugs. And into the point that my depression, I was diagnosed with severe depression, anxiety. And at the last, all I wanted to do, I was like, I used to be like, God, like, why am I here? Take my life. Like, I had tried cutting myself. I had tried on I-5, turning my car, trying to kill myself. Like, I was just done with life. I did so many things to just end it. And then at the end, I was like, why you don't want me to die? Like, I'm just embarrassing you here in this world. I'm not doing anything with my life. I'm just, just everything just kept going down and down and downhill until I hit the rock bottom. And I said, I surrendered. I surrendered. I said, I can't do this no more. I thought about my children. I thought about my family. I looked at it like, okay, if you want to die, um, what is going to happen to your family? What's going to happen to your loved ones? I say I love my children. I love my mom. I love my dad. I love my brothers, my nephews, everybody that I care about. What is going to, I didn't think about what was it going to affect them. How was it going to do, because regardless, we could be surrounded by so many people we love, but at some point we feel alone. We feel so alone. Nobody cares about, nobody loves me. Is that deep inside of you? Because, like I say, it comes with trauma, it comes with depression, it comes with anxiety, it comes with a whole, like they say, the little piggy bank backs, and it's something that not a lot of people, it's like addiction. Not a lot of people talk about it. In my culture, I am Hispanic, and women are not that's the big stigma. Like, women are not, like, they look at it as like, oh, you are an alcoholic, or you're a drug addict, you're like the worst, you know what I mean? And we don't come out. And that's one of the things. That's why when I was there, the organization that volunteering for is to speak up. And it's cultural. Like, okay, you know what, in my culture, like I say, they don't even accept women with tattoos. That's how much, and so I was like, okay, you're not alone, because I couldn't speak up. I had my children, I had my family. What are they gonna think? Oh my god. And I kept it hidden, but I was destroying my life. I was killing myself. I always say I was paying to kill myself, and it was horrible, because at the end of the day, I could be, like I say, surrounded by so many people. I will be in gatherings. I will, how do you say, front and say, "Hey, I'm the happiest person in the world," and everybody was like, "Yeah, They used to be like, "You have all this good energy and this and that," but when I head back home, hit that bed, hit that pillow, I will cry and be like, I'm so alone. I feel so alone. Like, what? Like, I feel so worthless, so hopeless. So I feel all the negative things that come, because, like I say, suicide is so silent. Not a lot of people speak about it, and it's really, really so. I'm excited. I think I said too much.
No, not at all. Not at all, Amalfi. Amalfi, could you say something about, um, you've used the word depressed, and of course, very often when we speak about depression, we use that word depressed, but that can mean different things to different people. And there can be, as a psychologist or a psychiatrist or other mental health professional, at least in the United States, we use the DSM-5 definition of what a major depression is. Or if you have bipolar disorder, there are episodes of depression with either mania in bipolar 1 or hypomania in bipolar 2, which has specific criteria. But maybe you could share with us and the larger audience, how old were you when your mood started to be a little off, and what were some of the early symptoms that something was not okay?
I could tell you, since I have memory, because I live in a very dysfunctional family. My dad was an alcoholic, and he used to abuse my mom, like beat her and stuff like that. So when I was a child, I remember, this is something that I always have in mind, that I'm working on that trauma, that as a normal child, when you see that type of abuse, because I will see my dad drag my mom from corner to corner, and I was only like 5 years old, and a normal child will cry, scream, and be like, my parents are, my dad's hurting. I wouldn't. I would just be quiet, and I would just look at my dad like, I hate you, type of thing. So growing up, I knew that there was something wrong with me. Like, I was not very emotional, to the point, because I grew up in that environment too. Like, my mom had to be, and I'm so thankful that at some point it helped me how to be strong, to overcome things. But at another point, I wanted that love. I wanted that. I wanted my father. I needed a father. I wanted him to be there and be like, because the first love of any girl is their dad. And not having that big person, that person that, like, hey, I'm gonna be right there. So since then I knew that my life wasn't okay. And then it came out with, like, growing up from emotional, mental, sexual abuse, all type of abuse. So I grew up with those trauma, and I put a wall so high that I always said I was okay. But deep inside I wasn't okay. Deep inside, like I say, I wanted somebody to save me. And what did I do? I did self-destruct. I started using drugs, I started using alcohol, I started like just beating up everybody that came in my way. Mind you, I was like 11, when I started using drugs. um and then, I became into the gang, like all the things that came. And for me, they were my escape. But all I was doing, I was screaming out for help, like, hey, I need help. But there was no
Part of
time for the rest.
I think part of what you're also describing are responses to traumatic experiences, right?
Mhm.
So I think the first need for all of us when we're born, let alone in utero, right? When we're inside our mother's uterus, we
Mhm.
want it to be a safe environment, right? It's like,
Yes.
please, mom, take care of your physical health, right? Please, mom, if we could speak, right? The fetus was saying, I'm in here. It needs to be safe, right? In terms
Mhm.
of the physical environment, as well as our emotions can affect our body as well. And I'm sure that's true for pregnant women. So there needs to be the safety is the first need when we're born, right?
Yes,
And
and yes, sorry.
right?
Sorry.
So the I think the attachment, right? Maybe later we use the word love, but the primary attachment is to the initial caretaker, and I think in most cultures that's the female who is the primary attachment, and then becomes, of course, the man, right? The partner.
Mhm.
Um, and but when you were saying. And this is in all due respect for what you shared, that when you said initially that there was something wrong with you, I was thinking there was something wrong with the environment, right? You were a young child witnessing violence in the home, right, between your parents. And so when you became so quiet and not speaking up, right, that that I think was a response to possibly, oh my goodness, if I speak up, I'm going to be hit too, right? Or what's going to happen to me? Or maybe if I speak up, he's going to get even more angry at my mother, right? And also the idea of responses to trauma can be, I know that you know this, like fight, flight, or freeze. And
Mhm.
there's also some that use the word fawn. Fawn is when you're overly pleasing to other people, like dismissive of one's own needs, right? So those are all reactions that just we don't think about. They just happen in response to the trauma. So shutting down or becoming quiet or not speaking up could be part of a freeze response to trauma. And so when you were a young girl, becoming so quiet, as it were, could have been a direct response as a trauma reaction. What do you think
I
about
think
that
so.
idea?
I did. I knew that was part of it, and the way I took out my frustration was outside of the home. I started when I see bullies, I was the bully beater. It could be a man, a girl. In my age, in middle school, that's how I became, because I had so much, and then became the resentment, the hate. Then I just took it out like on the world, and I was just like, I'm done. Then when I started having my children, that's something that depressed the after when you have a child, the postpartum depression. It was like it spiraled everything, like all my traumas. I will start thinking, oh my god, somebody's gonna do this to my children and this and that. So I became that that parent that was always worried about something happening to their children, because at some point all I wanted was somebody to take care of me, and like I don't blame my parents, and I don't not here to judge my they give me what they had, only they know their own traumas, and I love them very dearly, but at that one point I resent them for it because I needed my parents. So it's pretty much the resentment, the trauma, the all that void of trying not to face my reality led me to a lot of thoughts that I didn't belong here. Like I was like, well, I guess God just made me here to just come and suffer, or nobody. I don't know why my parents had me if all this is what they were going to offer me, stuff like that. And it was really sad.
Amalfi,
How's
if
your relationship
someone,
now with your
oh,
parents?
you
Hmm?
Sorry,
speak.
sorry,
Yeah.
sorry.
He's like, I want to know about the parents.
Go ahead, Tina.
Well, I can say it's great. I love my mom. I'm having a better relationship with my dad. Ever since I started recovery, I have 8 months sober. My addiction was 27 years, and in those 27 years I didn't have a relationship connect, but now there's not a day that goes by that I don't talk to my mom and I tell her I love her. She tells me how proud she is of me. She's showing me the love that she always wanted, like, and on top of that, she suffered from addiction too. So pretty much I can say that my relationship with both my parents, it's great. Like I love them, and I tell them how sorry I've been for everything because I resent them. I thought by doing those stuff it was my main goal to hurt them, and now I think about my own children and I'm like, you know what I mean? I was just like, but my relationship is great. I'm very thankful to have the parents because
Okay.
regardless of their mistakes, they made me the person that I am, and I can't say I'm all that bad. Not anymore.
Oh, you're very brave. I mean, listening to your story from my end, firstly, like, well done to you, for coming 1 year and actually, like, just sharing this with so many people out there. And, the world is big, but the problems, we face, there's no, like, certain country where it has a specific problem. It's the same problem wherever you go. So how big actually is the world if the problem persists in so many different countries all around the world? Because your story, like, as you were talking about it, I'm just thinking about South Africa alone. There's so many women who are facing the same, issues in life, and there's just no way out for them. It's like the same trend. Wherever you go, it's the same trend. And you just see it happening over and over again. So, by you sharing it, it actually, it's probably going to give like so much woman out there that strength to actually
Yeah,
like say,
and
okay,
that
I can do something. I can do something about it. And back to environment. If we look at the triangle of environment predicts your thoughts, thoughts predicts your actions. So if your environment is not good and unhealthy, you already know what's next to come. But I mean, if you can get out of it, others
yeah.
can as well.
Yes. And that's one of my main goals. Um that I want that I to let women know that, and even there's some men too. There's like a lot of, this is, like I say, this is not like, oh, it's men or women. There's a lot of people in general that go through a lot of emotionally, physically, any type of abuse, and there is a way out. I remember that at some point of my life, I was married for 14 years, and I've been divorced for 10. And I thought at one point, I was like, I can't leave this man. And it was a narcissist relationship in both ways because I had trauma. He had his own ways. And it's like putting oil and water, like it just went, like it wasn't a good. And like I say, I didn't divorce my ex-husband because I was like, okay, I didn't care because it was about him. It was because I was like, I am not gonna put my children through this anymore. But little did I know that regardless of I didn't work on my traumas. I still kept. I still kept. And now that I'm working on them, I am getting all the help that I need, which is therapy. I am taking treatment. I am doing everything. And speaking out, like, gives me to give hope because there is hope. A couple of months ago, you wouldn't see this person like this. I want to die. I don't want to live anymore. I don't care about anything, anyone in this world. Just want to get it over with. And now I look at myself, I'm like, oh my God, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's like you sort of like, you can ground yourself and then you realize, this realization comes to you that, look, I can't fix this. It's not the end of the world. Just ground yourself, reflect on it. Stop running away from your issues or your
Yeah,
problems. Now, this is for the listeners, face
yeah.
it, fix it, confront it. Have a conversation with your past self, your future self, and let's come to an agreement.
Mhm.
Amalfi, when you were in that desperate a couple of months ago, saying, what's the point? I should kill myself, right? Or I want to kill myself. If you can think back to that moment, what what was it that helped you from not acting on those thoughts? Because I want to say the Hold On campaign is focused on preventing suicide, and it's the idea of holding on. Don't act on those thoughts, because I think when we're having a suicidal mindset, ti- time is in our favor, right? If we just hold on and not act, hopefully things are going to be changing. And because our thoughts and feelings come and go and situations can be changed, but is the idea of how do we hold on? What specific ways do we do that? Why do we hold on? And it's like, because there could be right now people listening to you who are in that desperate state, and they're saying in their mind, but you don't know what's going on with me right now. It is hopeless. I don't want to hold on. The one thing I want to be is dead. So maybe reflect on what helped you, maybe give some ideas of concrete things that a person can actually do to help themselves.
Yeah, like what's
What
the starting
helped
point?
was the starting point is actually caring about yourself. Thinking of for one moment, it's like, this is what I did. I sat down and I just started analyzing my funeral. I started analyzing I was dead. And just to the thought of just thinking how much pain I was gonna cause. At some point, I was like, "Oh, well, that's what they need because they don't love me. They don't want to be around me, or whatever the thing." But it's like nobody is gonna take me out of this. But I prayed and I asked God, and I was like, I need to do something for myself, because what's the point of just ending something that life is so beautiful? I didn't think about it in that moment, but when I sat down and I just started thinking about, like, oh my God, and then they're gonna forget about me, and then things like, all these stuff started spiraling, and I looked at it like life is beautiful. Life is so beautiful. Life is something you make your life the way you want to make it. It's your choice. I told myself, okay, you want to sit here and feel sorry for yourself, be petty and all this stuff, or you want to live. You want to show whoever, if it's because nobody believed in you and nobody loves you, or you just like your whole life has gone downhill. Um, Show that you can do something different, because like dying is just ending something that probably you have a purpose. There's a purpose for everybody in this world. Like I say, I did not believe. I Like I say, a couple of months ago, I was like, I'm done. But then I was like, wait a minute, I'm gonna sit here, because I literally set myself, and I cried and I cried and I cried, and I had so many attempts of suicidal, failed, because sometimes, how about if I jump off the bridge and it fails, I'm gonna be in in bed and I can't move. How about if you know what I mean? Like, I started thinking all these things, like, it's common sense, right? It's like, okay, I'm gonna get it.
I just sorry. I just this thought came to my mind now while you were talking about it. I'm not sure if you ever watched Final Destination 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, where the guy he tries so many things to, he tried to hang himself, he tried to cut himself, and he's not dying, and the other
It's like,
dude is like, it's
okay.
not your time. Yeah, it reminded me
Yeah,
of that.
it
But
is
yeah, yeah.
true. But I mean, it's how do you say, sarcastically looking, but it's reality. It's reality, because if you're meant to be in this world, no matter what you do, you ain't gonna go nowhere. You might
Yeah,
be hurt.
yeah.
Like I said, I could have, like, I drank so many medications. I'm surprised I'm alive. I'm like, okay. I said, I'm gonna jump off this window, and I'm like, no. Then I'm gonna. How about if I don't die and I crack my head and I'm gonna be disabled for the rest of my life? What I could have been walking and living life. Like, I started thinking of all those things, but overall, I started thinking about my family. I started thinking about, because everybody loves somebody, no matter if we're the coldest person. Because at some point, I felt like I have no heart, but I do. I always hid behind that. Oh, I don't love anybody. I don't care if they leave. Who cares? That I don't care means I care, you know?
Mm.
And that made me realize, I was like, I love my family. I love my children with all my world, and they're the ones that have gone through a lot with me. And there's no day that I don't thank God for them, and I pray. I have done so many things wrong in my life, but they were the best thing that I have ever done. And just thinking about them, thinking about my mom, I already put her through a lot. Like I said, there's, if it's a cat that you have, if it's anybody that you love, there's someone that's gonna miss you. And how, just think about how much they're gonna miss you, because you made that choice. When, hey, you never know, how about in a couple more minutes something bright was gonna come out. I didn't think about that. My saving came in seconds. I remember, I was like, I called my sponsor. I was like, you know what, I can't do this. I can't stop using. I can't stop. I already lost everything I love. I cannot do this no more. I'm just gonna go OD. I was like, I'm gonna go get all the drugs I can and just gonna OD. She's like, nope, come here. And that was my door. And then I ended up in the hospital, and I'm here 8 months later, and I'm like, you know what? It was the best decision I have made, is speaking up and saying, hey, I need help. Because that's the hardest thing to do, is speaking up. I need help, because there's always going to be somebody that's willing to help. And if you find yourself, that's why they have organizations like Diana. That's why they have organization, like crisis lines. And we're here too now.
Amalfi, as you were speaking, I suddenly had like an image pop in my head, and as you know, right, the Hold On campaign is about using the power of art, right, which could be multifold of different art forms, but the power of art to educate, connect, express, and heal. So as you were speaking about, you're thinking about, well, if I kill myself, what pain am I going to be causing my family? Right? You were able to shift into that. And from the love in your heart, you were thinking, I don't want to inflict that pain on my children. Right? And then into my head popped an image of like a little girl, right, looking up, right? And she's imploring her mother, and she's saying, Mommy, please don't hurt yourself. Mommy, please don't kill yourself, right? And then underneath is going to be something about call 988, right? Trying to prevent suicide. And then after I thought that, I was thinking, but how do we help? And I also want to say that this is not only about women, right? That suicide affects men as well. In fact, statistically, uh, the it's men who are even dying more by suicide. This isn't a competition. Nobody should be dying by suicide, right? But it's men who are dying more by suicide. Um, but how do we help a person shift into thinking about how their death is going to affect other people, right? Because I'm thinking too that if we kill ourselves, well, we're done. That's it, right? But the pain that's inflicted on the family goes on forever, right? It's not only now in the present, it lives into the future. Every day, every anniversary, every birthday, every Mother's Day, Father's Day, right? It's on and on and on. But how do we help them, the person who's suicidal, and not shame them, like almost the idea of, well, you're not thinking about your children, right? Bad you, even though that's not what we want to be saying. But the person hearing it may feel more shame, feel worse about themselves, like, oh, I'm so awful, I can't even care about my children, right? That's even more of a reason that I should kill myself. So could you think a little bit about that? How do we communicate in an empathic way, and all empathy, but also in a direct way, right? That your death is not only your death, it's affecting other people. And to be able to communicate that in a way that doesn't increase the person's feeling ashamed or bad about themselves.
Well, that's a good one. It really got to me how you describe the photo, the picture, the art. It's like that's how I looked at it, you know. Like I said, it like you came and you said about like there's men too, and sometimes I guess that some men, like me personally, I had a lot of resentment towards them, and but I needed that man. How about if this person like thinks, okay, my family don't love me, nobody cares about me. Yes, we do. We care about our parents. We care about the people we love. I lost my grandma about 8 years ago. It was the hardest. And to this point, it's still hard because for me, it's like she was my world. She was the person that showed me the love and everything. And it's just even the fact that think, like she's not here. It still hurts, and that's something that impacts us for life. Like I say, if you think that nobody cares, there is people that care, because you are important to somebody, no matter what we think. Oh yeah, nobody loves me, nobody cares. Like, yes, there is. If I analyze, like we were born alone, but we're never alone. There's always something. There's that friend, there's that girlfriend, there's that boyfriend, there's that husband, there's that mom, the dad, the grandma, even the cat, the dog. There's someone that's out there that you have close, and they're like, okay. Have you seen even animals suffer? I've seen so many movies that make me cry. They're like, the poor puppy. I look at my puppy and I'm like, if something happened to me, I was like, he's gonna hurt. Like they go through depression too, because some people just have their animals. Some people just really don't have family. Some people, but they are important. Everybody in this world is important. And it's like, with you reaching out, like I said, reaching out to whoever, because at that moment we don't think about anyone. We just like, you know what, I'd rather be gone. It's okay. I'm done with my life. No, because you are important. You have that power to say no. It's like every decision we make, or it's a blessing today, or it's our, destruction tomorrow. You know what I mean? And it's something that is such a blessing to know that we have the power. We have the power to say no. We have the power to live. Why? Because um suicide and all that, yeah, it's an emotion. It hurts to just think about, like, why am I here? Why do I want to live? Like, just get it over with. But if you think about it, that emotion is just an emotion that you could just be like, you know what? No, I choose to live because I am worth it. At one point, like I say, in this world, there's someone that cares about you. Like I say, it could be a cat. It could even be the spider right next to you. Somebody's just there right next to you. But overall, like, we're here for a purpose, and then like, that's how I look at it.
I'm
It's
thinking
like
too,
don't only
Amalfi,
look.
that yeah, I'm
Sorry.
thinking too, Amalfi, that
No, no, I just got like
yeah,
one point on that. There's
yeah,
always someone there who does care and love, and sometimes people only look inside their house. They're thinking, okay, if my mother's not giving me the love, or my father's not giving me love, this is where it ends. No, you need to like broaden your thoughts. You look outside because it can be people outside as well that care and love you enough to just replace that whatever you're looking for, from people, and that'll be enough. That'll be enough. And
That's more
sometimes,
than.
like I've seen situations where there's people who do look outside and say they come to Kino. Kino gives them that support, that care, that love. And the family then catches a wake up and, like, because they got evil intentions about it, they think, okay, no, Kino has bad intentions. He's an outsider. So why would he care or love my son or my daughter? You know? And it's such immature thinking from families, So that's the message also to families out there who just hold, whoever down and keep them, stuck, because
Yeah.
they scared themselves, they know they're not giving that love and support. Now someone else outside is giving that love and support. Now that's also an issue. So my advice to those people, and this is like the solid advice I give to people out there, is that if you're not getting that support from family, when you have actually found someone, it's cool, leave it. Don't do anything more to please them. If they're not giving it to you, move on with the person that's actually giving it to you. Don't feel bad about it, you know.
I love that. I love that. That is so true. That is
Yeah.
very true, because I say that after all that, I have gained a family, and it's not only my blood family, it's my recovery family, it's my church family, it's the people. And it's like, it took one person to believe in me, and that was my sponsor. She was like, okay, get over here, you're not dying on me today. But speaking out, like, I know that it's hard to speak out, because it's that, okay, what are they going to think or whatever? It doesn't matter. Like, your life is important. You're important. Everybody, like I say, is important. And like, Keto said, it's like, hey, look outside your circle. How about if you have a best friend that, is going to be like, you left me? Or how about, like, there's people, or even, like, that's why these shows are for, we care, because we want to
Yeah,
save
yeah,
lives. We want to be
yeah.
there for you, and you're not alone. You could reach out to any of us and be like, hey, we understand. We're not here to judge you, because, like me myself, I cannot judge anybody because I've been through it. I will tell you, I love you more, like, hey, live for, like, there's a purpose out there, and that's why we're here. That's why we're showing we care, because we're speaking to suicide because we care about you. And in any world you're looking at us, you're not alone. You're not the only person that has even thought about it. Just even thought about it, it's like, oh, you feel horrible. No, we all have gone through a lot of stuff, and you're not alone in this world, because there's millions of people out here.
I
Yeah, we
think
all
too,
need
it's
that.
important to recognize that depression is not us. Okay. So I like to give other examples of that. So I have asthma, right? Asthma is not me. Asthma might be a physical condition that I have, and I have certain symptoms, right? But if I am having trouble breathing, right, I shouldn't accept that, oh, I'm just a person that can't breathe. No, there's something that I need to take care of myself and understand what that condition is. What I think can be difficult, but not at all unsurmountable, is depression, because depression or we could say that defeated mindset, which may come from a lot of trauma in our lives, right? Terrible losses could come from a psychiatric illness. But what starts to happen is it affects the way that we're thinking and the way that we're perceiving. So thinking about options like, oh, I have a problem. Where do I go for help? What do I do? Right? That's the problem solving part of our mind. And probably the idea of hope goes with problem solving, right? Because if I can think of options of what to do, then I'm going to have hope, right? But when we're in that depressed state of mind, our thinking is affected, right? And then layered on is we're not, in a sense, talking back to our thinking. We're just going, well, that's the way it is. I feel like a burden because that's what my mind is telling me in a state of depression. Well, that must mean I am a burden. But the answer is no. It's the depressed mind that has kind of taken over our thinking and feeling process. And yet, if we have, and I think talking back to suicide and other venues and organizations will say the same thing, which is you are not your depression. You need to be able to step out and go, okay, I'm feeling this way. I want to do that. Just because I'm thinking that does not make it real, does not make it true, does not make it to be the best decision. Because after all depression wants you to do is to feel awful. Depression's purpose is to make you feel bad, horrible, awful. There's no point in living. I might as well kill myself. But that is an illness, right? Just like having asthma or diabetes or arthritis is an illness. And if we recognize, if we have the awareness, like something is not right, right? Not that I am wrong, but something is not right with what I'm thinking. I need to ask somebody that I can share what's going on with me. You know, reach out for help. Let somebody know, gee, I've been feeling really off lately, right? I just want to be with you. Can I be with you? Or call that 988 number. I really dislike that word crazy. You know, nobody is crazy. There's a reason why people are thinking and feeling the way that they do. But I just want to emphasize again that in that depressed state of mind, that is not our true self. That is not our real self, right? And that also is so much of the tragedy of suicide, right? Because it does not have to be, right? That if we can recognize that I'm feeling terrible, I want to hurt myself, that's a reason to get help. That's not a reason to kill yourself.
Yes. It's a great did you wanted to say something, kid? I could take the whole stage. I will talk and talk. And because how you said with asthma, I suffer from ADHD. I suffer with a lot of obviously through my traumas, through everything I gone through. And on top of that, I have the HDAD. I have, it's hard for me to, learning and all that stuff. So if I would have known this, I just found this out like a couple months ago, if I would have known this, because depression does get us people that have ADHD, because for some people are like, oh no, ADHD people, oh my god, and they're no. A lot of our issues, and that's what led me to addiction, that's what led me to depression, that's what led me to anxiety, that's PTSD and all this stress that came. And after I got treated with my HDAD, my depression started going low. I was diagnosed with severe depression, like panic attacks and all this stuff, and they'll give me medications, it wouldn't work. I felt like nothing was gonna help me. Obviously, I put myself in the hands of God, because that's how I look at stuff. But then I was like, I'm gonna trust doctors. I'm gonna trust, one of the things that I caught from my sponsor, she always said, well, take them as little crutches. Take that little help. You know what? Get therapy. But I was like, no, I don't want to take therapy. Yeah, I don't need some. I don't need to tell people my business. Like, I don't have to talk about this. Nobody has time for that. That was me. That's just me. But looking at it, it would have helped me and prevented me for so many things, because talking about it, I love talking now. I'm like, okay, I let it out there, but it has helped me grow, has helped me show that, hey, you know what, let me see, let me get that power out of that situation. Like I say, some things are not talked about, and like, they're very hidden. Like, okay, mental illnesses, there's a lot, like ADD, what's it, autism, and all this stuff that people have, that, hey, like, unfortunately, no, well, we were born that way, we're just special, we're beautiful the way we are. But a little help won't kill anybody. You know what I mean? And it's literally, it won't kill anybody, because it will help you, save you. You'll feel much better. I feel much better ever since I started taking therapy. I get EMDR, I get therapy, I get treatment, I get my psychiatrist, I get medication, which little by little I'm reducing, because I like to be more natural. But it's helping me find myself, because sometimes it's like you said, it's not even us. Depression is not us. It's that mental illness that we have, that, like, hey, things happen. Like, sometimes we don't talk about trauma. We don't talk about the things that we go through, and we have them inside. But little things trigger us, because triggers happen, and those are things that pretty much sometimes needs to be worked out. Like you said, oh, reach out to the 988. Like, somebody's gonna understand. Now, with this program that's being out there, we're here for you. If you need to talk about it, we're not gonna judge you. We're not gonna say, like, hey, no, it's something that I'm not gonna come and tell you something I have not lived through. I'm gonna be so as transparent, honest with anyone. Why? Because I have gone through a lot. But yeah, it made me the person I am, and the person I am is that I have compassion. I love myself, I love people, and I want to be there for whoever needs the help, because it's hard enough to just deal with it, alone. You don't have to be alone, you don't have to do this alone. There is hope out there. There is people that are willing to take their time to just listen, because that's sometimes all we need. We don't want somebody to lecture us. We want somebody to listen to us. We want somebody,
Mm.
like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I say it in my point of view.
Like there's
Yeah, yeah.
listening and there's hearing, right? You know, people can listen, they'll be like, or they'll even sit for you like 2 to 3 hours, but they're not hearing what you're saying. you know, like, feel me. Like, Dan and I had this conversation as well. Like, one of the mandates for this podcast is like, okay, for me personally, I got an issue with the healthcare system. It's not working for us anymore. People want to sit with someone, as you said, who has actually been through what I'm going through right now. you know Diana is like an old G, when it comes to psychology, someone that we can rely on, because now this is old school. But new school, it's not working anymore, because the psychiatrists of today or psychologists of today are not hearing, okay, what does this person really go through? How can okay, cool, you're paying me, yeah, cool, I'm telling you, take this. Next thing you know, you're taking 10 different types of medication. You don't even know yourself anymore. You don't even know
It's
yourself
worse.
anymore.
Uh-huh.
So
Yes.
what we're doing here is, now it's real. Melfi has been through this. She knows what I'm going through. So I'm going to listen to her. That's what people want now.
Yes, and that's something that helped me, because, like I say, I go to treatment, so I'm gonna put a little bit of my so, I go to meetings, and I hear experiences. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not the only one that I did this. It's like, Alcoholic Anonymous, Narcotic Anonymous. There's so many anonymous out there, like, it is true. And then you could talk about your life and like be so transparent. Like I say, like one of the things that I have experienced in my own personal life, hearing other people talk about their life and saying, being vulnerable, because being exposing yourself is being vulnerable, and it's like I say, I'm not gonna come and tell you somebody else's life. I'm telling you my life. This is what I went through. This is my truth. It was hard enough to talk about it because so many years I was like, I'm not gonna talk about that. Like, what are you talking about? Like, no, talk about like me, being in a domestic violence, being an addict, trying to kill myself, like, no, that's something that I will never talk about. But now that I'm talking about it, I realize that, hey, I'm not alone, because I know there's other people that this is going to help. If it helps one or two, or how many it helps, it's going to make me feel like, hey, this is my purpose. This is why I came to actually save a life. And you never know, with your experience, anybody else's experience, we could save somebody else's.
Amalfi, I love that you, in your search for help that is out there, but you availed yourself of different types of help, right? So there could be cognitive behavioral therapy, right, as one. It could be a person is seeing one therapist, and maybe it's just not a good match, right? That doesn't mean that all therapy is bad or all therapists are bad. See somebody else, right? If cognitive behavioral therapy is not right for you, maybe there's a more sort of family-oriented therapy or intrapsychic therapy that you want to go for, or perhaps medication would be helpful. So sometimes it's not one thing or the other. It could be a combination of help that's being offered. And I think in a way that you want to take, for all of us and for everybody out there, we want to take in a good way the best that that helper can offer. Like, what is their skill, right? So the skill of the medication prescriber, you want to have somebody with experience, right? And not only do they have experience with prescribing medicine, being sensitive to dosages, asking about side effects, you want them to be able to form a relationship with you. As we just said, we want that person to hear you. However, that relationship and what you're going to be getting the help that you'll get in that situation is going to be different than group therapy, right? Or different than being in a talking therapy or in a poetry therapy or in an art therapy, right? So if we're clear on what our needs are and willingness to say, well, maybe EMDR, right, which can be used for trauma, maybe that's going to be of help to me, right?
EVT works too.
Yes. I was thinking too, earlier on when Amalfi and then Yukino were talking about being heard, right? I was thinking how when we're with someone that is listening to us, I'll just speak personally, I almost feel taken in a good way, taken in by them. It's not only the hearing part or the listening part, but it's almost like, oh, they get me. They're taking me inside of them, kind of metaphorically.
It feels beautiful too. It feels great.
And there's a wonderful poem by a poet and a poetic medicine practitioner. His name is John Fox. He's the former head of the National Association of Poetry Therapy. John is a friend of mine, and he lives in California. And he's written 2 books, or maybe maybe by now 3 books or more on poetry therapy. But he has a very famous poem that he wrote, and he's talking. And the poem is about when someone listens to you, what that feels like to you. And I recommend people Google John Fox and his poetry when someone listens to you, because you'll get a lot out of that poem. Also, John is going to be coming as a guest on our Arts and Healing Resiliency Center free online workshop. That'll be posted on Eventbrite, and John's going to be doing a workshop in November. So, in addition to emergency rooms, therapy, EMDR, hospitalization if needed, treatment for substance abuse, right? The arts also can play a role in healing. Just wanted to throw that out there and give a shout out to my friend, the poetry therapist, John Fox.
That's great. No, it's true. Was when I got because when I went to when I started my treatment, I got put into the mental institution because I was suicide, and it was the best experience. I thought I was like, oh no, they're gonna tie me down, everything's gonna be crazy, and I'm like, I really thought I was scared, but I can say that knowing where to go, like you say, a little bit of, there's so many ways out. The solution is not suicide. The solution is looking for what you need. And when I started, like when I was in the hospital, I remember, I have like whole bunch of coloring. I love to color. I love to color. I love all that art stuff. And I started just engaging on what I like because there's something, like I say, there's something that we know we like. How about if it's singing? I love to dance. Oh, I will dance all night if I need to, all day, all night. But it's like, yeah, and that's something that depression and everything took away from me because I wasn't myself. I love people. Like I like to talk, like as you can see, I like to be out there and enjoy life. But at one point of my life, I was in my house all day, every day, and I would just use, I would drink, I would just be depressed. I will try to handle my life, like I say, when it has to do with my bills and all that stuff. But deep inside, I felt like I was so alone and I didn't want to come out. I did not. But now it's like, I was like, the dancing, I didn't want to talk to people. I just wanted to be alone. Like literally world go away, But now that I have like, because you have to climb out of that hole. You have to like make that effort. The harder the effort, the bigger the blessing, And once you see the little bit of light, if it's like coloring, if it's dancing, if it's walking, if it's talking, if it's whatever you like to do, it's like my son had told me, he's like, Ma, because I was like, I need to start working. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. I've been a cook a long time. I love to cook. And he's like, do something you like. And I'm like, what do I like? I love to talk to people. So I'm like, I know what I want to do, like, and that's something it took away from me. And now I feel like I love it, I'm coming back to it wasn't easy. I'm not going to say it's been a walk in the park. It's been hard. I have cried. I have, you know, said I can't do this no more. I wanted to give up so many times. But at the end of the day, I'm like, it's worth it because I get to be in these environment, meet new people, and know that I'm not alone in this. And there's people that are trying to save me too.
Amalfi, could you say something about the organization that you work for?
So the organization that I am in, it's obviously a nonprofit. We are cultural. It's for we are the how do you say the organization of the organization, meaning we give all informations from like addiction. Our biggest focus is addiction. Because and obviously, like I say, it's culture because in the state of Oregon and the state of so many states, it's so few bit, that there's they don't think there's a way out from housing, from this. What do they need? What do you guys need? Detox and this and that. We'll just, make sure that you guys are led to the right place where to go, and obviously to be a support in whatever we can in all this, because like I say, I'm here, but my biggest goal is obviously addiction, domestic violence, suicide, all these sexual abuse, trafficking, all these stuff, because I know where it's been there. Like yeah, I have rephrased a little bit of my story, but my story has a lot of, things that have happened in my life. But this organization, like I say, is gonna blow up in that way because I'm like, okay, we're gonna work, and we're not just here, in one place. We could be all over Oregon, all over wherever we could find you the help. We're here for you, pretty much. It's like a
And
411, but we're not 411.
Amalfi, say the name of the organization, and then later
um,
we're going to put the name in the
It's right
description.
here, as you guys can read it. It's Caminos Diferente. And it's Unidos Esfuerzos, Spanish. It's like different path, and I'm excited
Nice.
to, and we're here, and as for Amalfi, I'm here too. No.
I love too, Amalfi, that you personify this so beautifully. That your story, your life story, is not over. Like suicide wanted to end your life story, right? But by staying alive, your life story has continued,
It
right?
has
And you are not only a flower blossomed, but there are further blossoms on you that are going to flower. And it would just be makes me want to cry to think that you're
Don't make me cry,
that
but my
that
makeup.
that that you could have ended your life, right? And the you that you are now that you could become would not have existed. So all the more reason like to hold on, have hope, and get help.
Yes, and give hope because there is
And absolutely to
there
give
is
hope.
hope. And like I say, like yeah, made me cry. I did my makeup for a lot. But it's like I say, I didn't think about this a couple of months ago. Suicide was the final destination for me. That's what I wanted. I didn't want to live. I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to suffer. I didn't want to continue putting mine into suffering. And I thought that was the best decision that I could have done. But at the end of the day, I reached out and I said, I don't want to. Because at deep inside, we don't want to. We don't know what else to do. It's the
Exactly.
easy way out, you know?
You want to stop the pain. It's not necessarily you want to be dead. You want the pain to
To
stop.
go away, because once that pain is away and you get back at whatever, it feels so beautiful. Like I say, I feel so alive and I feel beautiful. I'm so thankful for everyone that has, put a little bit of, I have a big support system. I am I'm so thankful that God has take me a long way, that has put the right people, for my sponsor, for my peers, counselors, everybody that has took their time. And there is hope out there. You're not alone. If I did it, you could do it too. Just speaking out to anybody, and that if you haven't heard this, I love you. I love you. Like, if you, I probably won't know you, but believe me, there's somebody out there that loves you. And I give my biggest heart out to all the people that are suffering, that are probably watching me and seeing like, hey, like, who is she gonna, but I'm gonna tell you, I went through it, and I don't regret speaking out and reaching out for help, because I could say that this day, I am more alive than I ever been.
Thank
It's
you,
like leave your
Amalfi.
pride at the door,
Gambino. Yeah.
Yeah. That was like reaching out for help, leave your pride at the door if you're going through
Yes.
something right now. Leave it at the door, because it's not going to bring you any good, holding it in or caring about what people are going to think about me.
Yes.
Nah, leave it at the door. Get the help you need. Talk to the person you need to and move on. you know
So
and like what you were
Amalfi,
saying about loving to dance and to cook and so on, like, to the listeners, go out there into the world and do the things that you enjoy doing. Stop holding yourself back. If you like to dance, go dance. If you like to cook, go cook. If you love to DJ, go DJ. Whatever it may be, find your
You like to
purpose.
eat, Food is
Exactly,
good.
like even with addiction, like, for myself also, I wasn't addicted to, drugs. Yeah, I should drink a lot with my friends and so on before I decided to, just follow my heart and become a professional DJ, because that's what I love doing. But until I actually made that move for myself to say, okay, I'm going to go out into the world. I'm going to play music because I enjoy playing music. And the moment you start doing the stuff that actually means something to you, no matter what it may be, you sort of just leave the addiction slowly, slowly. So my addiction was partying and drinking with my friends every single day. You know, I left that because I
Yes.
started finding that passion in me for what I love doing.
And you're doing it, and look where I came across you. I'm like,
Yeah,
hey,
that's me.
I comes across you guys, and that's a beautiful story because at
Yeah.
least a little bit it shows, in that pride. I had a huge ego. I had the biggest ego that because I didn't want to ask for help. I was like, no, nobody cares. Who cares? I'm not gonna speak it out.
Yeah,
But
I'm
I
tough.
put that one
I'm the
aside.
tough guy.
Yeah. What are you talking about? No, nobody gonna see me cry. Now I cry all the time.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
Amalfi, we
Yeah.
would like to invite you back again.
Oh,
Would you like to come back?
yes, I would love to come back. I talk. I could be here for
yeah.
hours.
You need your own podcast,
I need my own
Yes,
podcast.
yes.
One day. But right now, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
united with you guys because this is the perfect experience for me. I was so nervous. I was like, oh, what am I gonna say? Am I gonna But this is my story. It wasn't that hard because this is my story. This is where I came from, and as like I say, the suicide does not respect gender or age or anything. It could happen to any, from smallest to the biggest, to the toughest, to the worst of the worst. Anybody, I put as Robin Williams, like I admire him so much, and I used to see him so happy, and that's what happened to him because he did not speak. And I was like, that is something that it impacted me a lot, and that's why I speak about it. And I'm thankful. Thank you so much for having me here.
Oh, thank you,
Thank
Amalfi.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're going to wrap up now, and we're going to have another podcast next week. So, bye, everybody.
Mhm.
Okay. Bye. Thanks, Amalfi.
Yeah, bye.